Hi, Alison. Welcome to the podcast. So you are from Perth and you've lived in both Sydney and London. Why Sydney?
It really was a career move for me. So I started off in Perth, which is where I'm from. I studied marketing, and I knew that if I wanted to progress in marketing with my career, I had to move to Sydney. So Sydney was always on the radar.
So definitely work.
Yeah. So I got in with a company, big blue chip company, being Unilever, in sales, and then I got into a marketing role in Sydney, and they relocated me. For moving across Australia, that was always the vision that I had, is that I wanted to be relocated.
That's pretty good. I'm not sure they still do it those days.
Yeah, I'm not so sure because that is a big blue chip company and they focus on graduate progression. I think they probably do, but to the level that they did it back when I did, probably not. It was a good package they moved me on.
Pretty amazing. And so tell us about your businesses.
So I have my own businesses. I started them, I would say, about 13 years ago now. And within the ecosystem, there's 3 businesses that all kind of like feed off each other. The primary one is Relauncher, which is where I do one-to-one business coaching, podcasting, and quite a few other elements, including content creation. The second is Sticky Studio, which is a graphic design and branding studio. And the third one is Real Brand Agency, which is a luxe, bigger brand, which also encompasses videography and lots of different elements beyond branding.
Someone's pretty busy. Do you have to be in Sydney for those businesses, and would you consider being in Perth to run them?
Yeah, so all the businesses are online, but in saying that, I have a huge amount of clients across the eastern states of Australia. I work with mainly everyone online, but there are projects that I need to be in person. So the beauty about these businesses is that they are remote, but they have the ability to connect in person too.
That's pretty good. All right, so let's go back to when you moved to Sydney. What were the main challenges of being based in or relocating to Sydney?
The biggest challenge for me was that I did not know one person in Sydney, and it was terrifying. I was 23 and it was my first movement out of home. So Mum had done mainly everything for me, including like all my washing and my cooking. So personally, like that was just like, oh my God, this is the real world. But from everything else, it just flowed because work was all lined up. Accommodation was lined up, my salary was excellent. So it was perfect, but just personally, it was a huge step up into the real world.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So main challenge being independent for the first time.
Yeah.
You're right.
And making new friends. I had this like amazing social life in Perth.
Yeah.
So to leave that
Yeah.
and not know one person and having never lived out of home was pretty scary. And I only had 2 weeks notice that this was all happening. So it was a big change. It was terrifying actually.
So how do you start a new group, or how do you start from scratch your social life? What's the approach?
So to begin with, I was living in a hotel for a month, and then the company subsidised my rent for the first 6 months, and I went into shared house living. I was 23, and that's actually how I made my first set of friends that I'm still friends with today.
Oh, that's a good story.
Yeah.
That's a good way to meet your closest friends. All right. What about London? So how long did you live there for, and what were the main challenges as you moved there?
So I was in London for 3 years. A big challenge I found was just setting up a bank account. So I went over there on a working holiday visa and I ended up getting sponsorship, and that's why I could stay so long. But just simple things like opening a bank account, working out like renting a place that was partly furnished. I'd never heard of that. We don't really do that in Australia. So there were lots of like huge cultural steps, and just getting established in a completely new country took up a lot of energy and time. Even just working out, how do I go to the doctors? That was a whole new system, the NHS system. So it was simple, everyday things like that, which were big for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Would you do it again?
I actually would.
Would you?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would.
okay.
I found when I first moved to Sydney and then when I first moved to London, both places took me a solid 6 months to settle in.
Yep.
But because I've done a lot of travelling and movement and just, age, I think sugar. Whoa! I think it would be much quicker for me settling into a new country now.
So you said 6 months for London. How long do you think that would take to relocate to, let's say, Bangkok?
Oh, I think it would be quite simple because you'd be coming with me. And we've been there before.
Give me a number.
How long?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd say 6 weeks.
6
Because
weeks,
I'd need
okay.
to set up bank accounts and things like that.
That's the funny thing. So we've talked about that before, but HSBC used to be connected between different countries, and like I used to have an account in France, and it would work kind of in London. So which bank would you be using today?
It would be just a digital bank.
Yeah, right.
That wasn't around when I lived in London.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Because I banked with HSBC too, but they no longer exist in Australia.
Do they not?
Not that I know of.
Okay, fair enough.
Maybe they do, but yeah, like the buildings that I'm thinking of are gone. So yeah.
All right, Revolut or Wise?
Wise.
Team Wise. All right.